Hey guys, got another special guest with us today, Lamont Hicks. I don't know if any of you have just, it's one of those things where you wind up in a situation and you meet somebody for the first time and it seems like within 2 minutes you just click. And I think me and Lamont come from the same era, a lot of the same background. We've been playing sports since we were, 5 years old, baseball, football, basketball, our whole lives. And, I'll consider Lamont a friend, kind of real quick. And so we decided to bring him on the show because, not only is he just a big he's more than a sports enthusiast. He's still actively playing baseball. He's been a coach. He's played professional ball. Professional ball in Germany. Basketball.
Yeah. Play basketball.
Tried out for multiple major league teams.
Yep. A couple of camps. So he's been doing this for a really long time. But I think at the end of the day, we always try to wrap everything we do here around leadership. Absolutely.
And through our conversations, we spend a lot of time talking about different people. And we're actually gonna get into this today a little bit with Coach Prime, with Deion Sanders.
Absolutely.
That's a good place to go because when you talk about different leadership styles, we talk a lot about leadership styles, Nick Saban versus Dabo Swinney.
Right.
Two opposite leadership styles, both having great results. And then where Deion falls in that mix. Because in my opinion, I think he's a mixture of a lot of different coaches.
I agree.
He's very unique. He's kind of that, what's that new word, a unicorn? He's just, a lot of cool stuff. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions about him. And
Absolutely.
Why he does what he does, how he does what he does. So we're going to touch on that a little bit.
Awesome.
But as we're getting in this leadership, I'm going to turn it over to Lamont and let him give you a little background on himself. But when we talk about leadership and how things have changed since we were growing up, we were growing up, a coach was a coach. If you didn't produce, you sat on the bench. There was no blowing smoke up your rear end, and now we've reached this time, and I actually had a conversation with a mom the other day. And we know we live in this sensitive time where don't yell at my kid, don't be mean to my kid, you're going to destroy his self-esteem forever. If everybody gets a trophy, and so the question is, are we doing a disservice to the youth by coddling them, by not being as hard on them? We're just going to talk about all that.
Okay, awesome.
But when we're talking about leadership, there's this, as time progresses, you kind of have to evolve with the times, because we live in a different era, the era of social media. Yeah. In college sports, we live in the era of the NIL, the transfer portal, all those things. We didn't. No. My goodness, it's like you played.
Yeah,
and
you waited your turn.
You worked, you played, you earned your keep. Either you're good enough or you're not. But from a coach's perspective, there's this concept we teach called LeaderSHIFT.
Okay.
And so as the times change, you gotta somewhat keep up with the times. It's kind of like going back to the time where coaches resisted adopting the forward pass. It was like, no, we don't. It's run the ball, run, block, run, block. So you kind of have to adapt. But what we've realized is from a leadership perspective, if you're, and this is a great analogy, I think, if you're a soloist, so a soloist, thinking of a concert, a singer, a musician, all the instruments and everything going on in the background is designed to make you look good.
Right.
So that's the soloist leader. Then you have the conductor. The conductor's job is to make everybody in front of him look good.
Yes.
And to manage and to lead and to make adjustments and do those things. So as a leader, the most effective leaders are always the ones that are the best conductors.
I agree.
Not the soloists who are saying, and I'm going to throw this to you in just a second, fitness. Recently heard a story about a personal trainer. He's a coach. He had somebody competing in a bodybuilding competition. This was somebody that was competing in the Masters division, and I don't want to say it's not a big deal because it is a big deal, but the person apparently didn't do very well. And the coach was backstage, and apparently the coach kind of pitched a fit in front of everybody saying how bad this person's performance made him look.
Mm-hmm.
So there's your soloist. There's you're here to make me look good.
Right.
You know, you might not have had the best day. You might be upset. But I don't care. You made me look bad. So those are some of the things we're going to touch on today.
Okay.
But with that said, let's throw it to Lamont. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. Grew up in Virginia.
Yeah, man. So I'm Lamont Hicks. I'm from 48 from Virginia. I'm from a small town. Like, it's one of those kind of like Anderson, where you're from. Everybody knew everybody. All the kids grew up together, played together. My mom and dad. My mom was an educator. My dad was a firefighter. So I grew up in a household where discipline was key. Nobody was afraid of dad. Mom was the hand of death, so to speak. And to the point we used to call her Joe Clark from Lean On Me.
Right.
But yeah, I grew up in a small town. I have a brother. He's 4 years younger than me. Sports was our thing. Football out in the yard, basketball in the yard. So I just grew up just outside playing all the time. Is where I was from. And then growing up playing Little League, high school baseball, and my dad played softball, my mom played softball, so just baseball was kind of my thing. My brother is a 3-sport athlete. He played football, baseball, and basketball in high school. Tried football a couple of times. Wasn't my thing. But yeah, man, I'm from a small town, and I think those small town values is kind of what kind of got me through the whole years of my life. I went to high school, at Rappahannock High School, small school, single A. We had tradition of winning was what we did. Our head coach was Coach Blackley. He's played basketball for him too, and he's one of those guys. He's a Bobby Knight guy. You do your job. I'm not patting you on your butt for doing your job. Everybody knows their role. If we do this, we will consistently win, and that's what we did. And it was hard growing up at first because you're like, man, this dude doesn't like me. But going forward and going to college and playing, and understand you bringing dudes in all the time. Now I understood what he was doing for us, was building that discipline and confidence. Like, yo, do your job. You'll have nothing ever to worry about. And my parents were like that too. So, yeah, I grew up in a great place, man. It was awesome. I have a son. I have a 19-year-old. He played soccer at Lexington High School. So he's kind of in that same mindset. And his mom was a retired Army. So, as you know, being in the military, that discipline never strayed. So my brother played baseball and football in high school behind me. I went to Virginia Union to play basketball. I actually, the opportunity, a little shout out is I got a chance to play with Ben Wallace. Nice. For a semester, like trying to walk onto the team. And then I transferred to Virginia State, man, and played baseball there for 4 years, and it was a great time. And I did, like you said, like you shot the shout out I had, I went to Braves and Royals camps and things like that. And then my son's mom, when we met, I went overseas and played professionally German basketball league, which was awesome for 2 years. And I was a 28-year-old too. That was the cool thing. It was like, man, you're 28, but like you was talking about fitness is, I grew up in a small town where mom was like, you're not staying out till 3, 4 o'clock. You're not going to all these parties. So the only thing was left was to play a sport, and then I did the Braves tryouts, man, and the Royals, and I didn't quite make it, but I ended up playing a lot of independent leagues and semi-pro and pro leagues around the country. And like I said, my son's mom is military, so I lived 11 different states, and I moved 14, almost 19 times, lived overseas. So been able to be around certain type of people, seeing certain type of mindsets. It was awesome. When I lived in Colorado, I coached high school baseball or varsity for a couple of years, and I was an instructor, hitting instructor, and I coached 14U, I had 12U. So I also have an IT, master's degree in IT as well. I was a teacher. I did at-risk youth. So like I said, I've been able to use everything I learned going forward and to be the person I think I am. And even with the leadership thing too, is being able to use those lessons growing up to kind of help you. Even sometimes you don't try to be a leader, but just the way you move and do things, it de facto makes you one. Right. People come to you like, hey, I got a question. Like, I'm not the leader, I'm not the coach. What you asking me for? But they see how you handle certain situations and handle your teammates. And as you know, man, being in the military for those years you was in, having teammates is very important. Like you said, there's a soloist and then there's a conductor. And most of the time when you're on a team, having good conductors makes you consistently win. Yeah. Of course, there's that one person that makes the final decision, but you need to have conductors. What they's always, and I think that's when we start talking about prime time and him. That's what I think too. But yeah, man, I still play. I play in the men's league here in Lexington and Columbia. I travel to Myrtle Beach. I travel to California and play in tournaments. I've been to Puerto Rico and played. So actually this October, I'm going back to Arizona and play in the MSBO World Series tournament with my guys from Cali. Actually, this year I'm playing with my guys. My buddy Oscar, who's Dominican, I'm playing with his team from Connecticut. Nice. But we'll be in the 30 and over division. So, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to keep playing. I have buddies that I play high school ball with that don't play no more. Like, why you still play? It's like, bro, I love it, and I still can do it, so why not? Yeah. Like, I golf, too. I'm a golfer. Yeah. I'm a golfer. But don't hoop no more, though. The knees, knees don't let me do that anymore, man. But I love competition, man. I love sports, and what you said, I'm a sports enthusiast. Nah, man, I'm a sports junkie.
Fanatic.
I'm a sports junkie.
Yeah, I'm a sports junkie. I was training a client yesterday, and we were watching Wimbledon.
Okay.
And it was the finals of the female finals, and John used to play. He played in college. That was his sport. His whole life was tennis. So he's but he's kind of been disconnected. So he doesn't know any of the new names or whatever. And he said, "Who is that who won?" Well, Lamont comes over, and Lamont's it's the girl from the Czech Republic, and he says her name, and I'm like, really, dude? It's like he knows everything about sports.
Useless. I'll have useless knowledge sometimes, bro.
Yeah.
Like I really do. I was telling so earlier I was at the baseball game. And a couple of guys, we were talking baseball, and I said, did y'all notice that actually home plate to the mound is 60 feet 6 inches? But when Abner Doubleday, who's the creator of baseball, when he actually wrote the dimensions on paper, because the ink smeared, it's actually supposed to be 61 feet, not 60 feet 6 inches. But when they looked at it and built the first field, they actually mislabeled it. So that's why we got 60 feet 6 inches.
See, our views are probably going to go up just because of that right there. See, you just found out some crap you never wanted to know.
Yeah.
But see, you know that. You sound like my son. See, it comes up, Dad, you know that? Yeah. Okay.
Useless knowledge, man. Because like I said, man, because when I lived in Hawaii, because of COVID, golf courses got shut down, beaches got shut down, basketball courts got shut down. So my son's mom and I, we played tennis. Yeah. So I played tennis. It's fun. It's a fun game. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not Andre Agassi or Bjorn Borg by no means, but it's fun. It's good exercise. So like you said, I try to stay dialed in with sports, period, man. Like I just watched the final round of the Monday Avion Championship, the LPGA, and it was great. It's fantastic. Girl was winning she's from the U.S. She's from Virginia, actually. She was winning, bogeyed the last 2 holes in a row. The girl from Japan hit a 7-foot eagle to win it. Dang. And the girl before her was down 10 strokes. Going into the last round on the back nine, she shot like a 62, tied it on an eagle. So she's waiting to play. And then this young lady got on the green, was like, boop, let me win this thing. Let's walk this thing off. And I was screaming like, yeah, let's go. Don't know who she is, but I'm like, yes.
It's
competition.
It's competition.
And watching her, and she said it, we talked about, I think you and I have spoke about it in the gym before, about mentality and having that ability to get yourself right. And she said it in the interview. She's like, I know for a fact that I have mentally beat myself up at times in these tournaments. Mm-hmm. So this is a tournament that she finally felt that she was mentally strong enough, because she was leading the second round, but shot so bad on Saturday, actually on Friday, that she lost like 6 strokes. She went from like leading to like 6th. But that's that mental toughness we talk about.
And I think that's one of the things that you see when guys like us, when we grow up playing sports as life, your whole life. You learn, one of the things we have in common is we learn to appreciate greatness.
Yeah.
And once you recognize it, it doesn't matter what sport it's in. It doesn't matter whether it's NASCAR, IndyCar. It doesn't matter what it is. You're like, man, that's rare. Yeah. And you want to watch. And so everybody knows Jordan and, all these big names. But, when you're surrounded by these, you're just watching sports and you just see these gifted athletes, because we know what it's like to play these sports. And you might have been above average, but then there's that next level where you see them come out and it's like, I'm just. Yeah.
You're like, you know what? Maybe this isn't the sport for me.
No, I remember in high school there was a exchange student from the Dominican Republic. Okay. His name was David Ayala. And I remember he was a little kid. He played shortstop. And he was probably, 5'5", 150 pounds. Came out, practiced the first day. And the coach put him with me. He didn't speak English at all. Put him with me just to warm up. The first time he threw the ball, I was like, what is that?
Okay.
It was next level. He got up to bat, 150 pounds. I mean, it was easy. It was just so easy and so natural and so next level. The rest of the team was like, all right, it's you and the rest of us, because we don't play like that, you know.
Take us, drag us with you, put us on your back.
But I think listening to your background and listening to because you have a diverse background. You know, it's one thing that what we're hearing is a lot of sports. But no, we got a master's in IT. You've traveled the world.
Yeah.
You know, you're educated. You know, so when you get in these conversations with people, you recognize it, because we talked about leadership, and anybody can become a great leader. Leaders can be made. Yep. But they're the leaders that are born.
Yep.
You know.
And I never understood that as a player until I was in grad school. And like I said, my son's mom is retired Army. So when you drive on Fort Carson, leadership is spelled out in these columns. So as you drive through, it has the L, it has the E, it has the A. So you ride, you see it all the time. So when I wrote I had to write his class was leadership and ethics and leadership. So she had this book called Leadership. I was like, you know, let me check it out. And I had never knew that before. And they would talk about General Patton and people that say you can build a leader, but the great ones are born. They have this innate ability to get people to follow them with no recourse, like, tell us what to do, we'll do. I'll run through a wall for you.
Right.
And it was like, how is that possible?
Yeah, and the people around them have this subconscious thing where they gravitate toward that person. They feel safe with them. They trust them. It's not based on anything that they've done, said, anything. It's that when you're in the presence of that person, you feel it, you know. And that's not very common.
No,
you know,
it's not.
So that's why we talk about how important it is, because I think there are more natural leaders out there. But because so many people don't really pay attention to personal growth, they were kind of just existing and just kind of waking up every day, surviving, getting through the day, waking up, doing it all over again, and not really investing in ourselves. That's one of the things that it may seem like a small thing, but Lamont is in the gym at least 4 times a week. Now, he plays baseball. So, you know, everybody says, well, weight training in baseball. Well, if you don't know, weight training is really important for baseball.
Important, especially when you're 48.
But yeah, and as you're getting older, he understands, you know, this is part of what I do so I can keep doing what I love and being athletic. So for Lamont, it's not about going in the gym and being a bodybuilder and building big muscles and, you know, being able to bench press 400 pounds. It's about maintaining what you have, staying strong, staying limber, staying, you know, keeping your joints all lubed up so you can keep doing what you do.
Yeah. Shout out to cryotherapy in a can.
Yeah.
But you're right though, and it's crazy when we first had a conversation. I think the first couple times I met you, we talked about Coach Prime, and then we just started getting into. I got a little to know about your background, and like, oh, he plays sports too. So, and you get it. And I was talking to someone one day. Matter of fact, I think it was you a couple of days ago. Sometimes people get tasked to be a leader based on the position that they have. And I remember they were talking about Jay Cutler and how gifted he was physically and as a player. They're like, well, he's a terrible leader. Well, because of football, innately, the leader of the team offensively is always the quarterback because it's a position. Right. He could be a terrible leader.
Right.
AKA, you look at Aaron Rodgers, if you want to throw that out there.
Right.
But I'm just saying, it's because of the position you hold, people automatically like, okay, lead us. And some people aren't built to lead, but because of the position, the title they have, you automatically, they're the leader.
That's a great point. Great point. So think about this for a minute. So 37th round, was that the round that Tom Brady was drafted in? What round was it?
Back then, I think it was 16. Might have been. I know he was the last 270th pick, something like
37 sticks out. Maybe the 37th pick in whatever round.
Yeah, he was the last
way down there. And everybody's seen the picture of him in boxer shorts with the guy looked like he never played a sport a day in his life. He was a natural-born leader. His physical skills were not the same as Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely.
Not the same as Jay Cutler. not the same as you could name 50 quarterbacks with the more physical skill than he had. But one of the greatest leaders, because the strength of his mind was next level. So when you talk about strong leaders with that strong mind, Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, Peyton Manning, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, these are people, it was here.
Yeah.
They had physical skills.
And you know the cool part about that, though, the people you named, they all had different type leadership ways they led. Because Tiger, not even Tiger, you talk about Jordan and Kobe together. They had the similar, actually, you might as well say they had the same type of leadership mindset. It's like, look, here's how we're going to win.
Yeah.
You don't got to like me. I don't care. When we step across inside of that 94 foot, if you want to win championships, which is the ultimate goal, this is how I'm going to lead. If I got to punch you in your face in practice, Steve Kerr, this is how I lead. And everybody can't handle that. And that's one thing I loved about my coach, Coach Blackley, is the way he kind of led, the way he coached was we learned that early. So now, because of such a hard leadership type style, when you go out into higher level competition, when now coaches are getting paid millions of dollars to win, I can't be your friend. I got to lead because my job is on the line. Right. Like, I have to lead a certain type of way, and certain players can't be coached like that. That's why they go into a different team, or you see a guy with a certain type of coach. It's like, well, I thought he was good. He leaves. He goes to a lesser demanding coach, and it's like, you be okay? And he's like, he takes off. Like, what? What is that about? Well, everybody can't be coached like that.
Right.
And I actually struggled with that, believe it or not. My coach in high school was, this is what we do. My college coach was sit back, hands off, and I struggled my first couple semesters in college for baseball. I'm like, and I'm like, man, this dude, I'm used to being yelled at, like, hey, he just sat back because now he's like, well, this is college, son. Like, if you don't know what to do to keep yourself ready for the field, then I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. He leaves. He goes to Belgium to coach baseball. We get this new coach in. He's just like my high school coach. He said he's a street dude. Like, he's nose to nose with you. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm used to. And then, boom, sky's the limit. I take off. But everybody can't lead like that. And what you said earlier was great with the Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, and how Deion has kind of blended the two. So when I started coaching, I called my high school coach, I called my JV coach, I called my dad. It was like, hey, I'm coaching now. And my dad, my high school coach, said, look, it's okay to take pieces from each of us, but you got to make it your own. And I tried to do that. And it was like, okay, you know what? I'm not a yeller. I'm not a yeller like my high school coach was. Right. My dad and I had kind of sort of this like laid back, like, I can be demanding without berating you. I can have a standard of excellence without making you feel like the smallest person on the field. Right. And once we get on the field, you won't ever see me like, people like, man, you never yell at the kids during the game when you make an error. I'm like, why? Because it's not going to do anything. Now, when we get to practice tomorrow, I'll address it. But now is not the time. Right. And that's the kind of leader I tried to be. And I think the kids like really gravitated to it. Without that, hugs and rainbows, everybody gets a participant medal. And we're not going to do all that. Like, you got to earn your spot. And I told the parents that, like, if you want your child to play this game or any game, you have to earn your way. Because as you turn 14, 15, 16 years old and you get to high school, there's no more everybody has to play. Right. It's the survival of the fittest. I'm a high school coach. I'm trying to make you a better man, a better student, win college championships, high school, and even the college guys. They get paid to play. They get paid to coach.
Are we losing that?
Yes.
Are we? Okay. Let me, because I agree, but let me take it a step farther.
Okay.
You're starting to hear people talking and saying, man, college ball just doesn't feel like it used to.
Okay.
We were talking yesterday, the same client that was there with you yesterday. We were talking about this golden age of sports, what we consider a golden age. Now, my dad would have considered a golden age, with Pistol Pete, people, but and Oscar, but there's this golden age where it was baseball, basketball, football. It was Walter Payton. It was that era where it just seemed, even Muhammad Ali, it was boxing. And now it just seems different for some reason. Yeah. And so do we live in this era now where everybody has become so sensitive we have more options
Yep.
available to us now. If I get my feelings hurt, I can leave.
Yep.
You know, no, I can transfer from Clemson to Duke, and then I can go from Duke to Appalachian State, and I can be in college for 12 and a half years somehow. You know, they keep adding time. And I get it. You gotta play the game.
No.
You know. But is there becoming this mindset shift where there was a video, I know you saw it. It was one of the Raiders coaches. Okay. And he just kind of, not screaming and yelling, but he kind of went off. He said, players are different than they used to be. He said, they're soft. He said, we can't treat them the same. He said, and he's talking about professional players.
Yep.
You know, so are we, so that's where, okay, so let me circle back. When you start talking about Saban, now Saban stepped away because he said publicly, and I think he made it very clear, this has changed to an extent that it's time for me to step away.
Yep.
It's changed too much. I don't want any part of it. Now, I'm not quoting him. That's basically
Okay.
Dabo has resisted.
Yeah, and
it's gonna hurt. You know.
Yes.
You know, these great players hanging out there. Now we don't want them. You know, we made a commitment to their families. You hear. You know, and he'll come around. You know, I think he already is a little bit.
Winds start to go down a little further.
Yeah. But there's this. So if you listen to conversations around the gym, people discuss Nick Saban. They'll discuss Dabo. They'll discuss Deion. And it's funny to hear. So the perception is a very small perception. Okay. Here's a comment. If I had 10 guys, let's say, and we'll go back to the gym because that's where we hear all the conversations.
Okay.
10 guys, and say, I'm going to say one name, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Now, to me, when I hear something like this, it shows me the depth of your thinking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. That's how I think. So if I say Deion Sanders, first thing, 9 out of 10 go money.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. If I say Dabo, they might say too soft. Yeah. They put you in this box, right? And but they don't look deeper. Deion, I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna let you kind of touch on this. You remember the video that came out? He's got all the players. He had just arrived at Colorado. They're all sitting there, and he basically said, "Y'all can just go home." He said, I got these players coming in. Mm-hmm. They are going to take your position. Now, if you want to fight for it, you're welcome to stay.
Right.
But I'm going to tell most of you right now, you might as well go ahead and transfer. Now, he got lit up because of that. But people saw that if you're a shallow thinker, you think of that in terms of favoritism. He's got his boys. He knows who they are. He's got Travis, and he's got his guys. They're automatic to play it. No, he's spent time with them. He's developed them. He's invested in him. Their mindset is his mindset. He already knows that.
Absolutely.
This isn't not just about talent. It's about there's a culture shift about to happen.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a part of that culture, stay. Fight for your position, be a part of the culture. But people perceive that as win at all cost. That's all that matters.
Right.
And they didn't see all the hours and the 24-hour days and sleeping in your office and all these things of developing these players in order to take that next and having tremendous success at Jackson State.
Absolutely.
And then going to a place where they were at the bottom of the barrel. That program was done.
We tried it your way and it didn't work.
Right.
So let's do it my way now.
Everything has to change.
Absolutely.
And it starts with a culture change.
It does.
Which is the exact same thing Dabo did. In the beginning, that's all he said: culture, 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 culture.
Chris, I'm glad you brought up Deion. And one of the things that bothers me a lot is having these conversations, barbershops and places, and when you bring up Deion or any other of these coaches that aren't the Mount Rushmore of coaches, it's the same. It's that old school adage is, because people look at Deion because of what he did as a player.
Right.
Soloist, right? But you look at it like this: every single football coach in the country, past and present, has done the same thing. It's just now because of social media, you get to see it. You think Nick Saban has walked into a room and said, "Look, bro, check it out. You can come play here, but don't mean you gonna start right away. You can earn it." Okay, Coach Saban. Think Dabo hadn't said that? You think I'm a Florida State fan. You think Bobby Bowden didn't say that over those years, those decades? A prime example of what that leadership can look like, what Deion did, is Jimmy Johnson. I'm a Cowboys fan. Shout out to Manny. Cowboys fan. When Jimmy was at Miami, Jimmy was the first one to take a 230-pound safety who could run a 4.5 and make him a linebacker. So he made that transition. So when he got to the NFL, a guy fell asleep in his meeting, cut him the same day. You got to go. Culture change.
Yeah.
So when Deion shows up, it's like, hey, check it out. You did it your way for the last 4 seasons, and you won 2 games.
Right.
I'm coming in from Jackson State, which HBCU. He started winning. He's bringing pro athletes to his team. Mm-hmm. He comes to Division I school that ain't been good since I was a kid when they had
Eric Bieniemy,
Michael Westbrook, Slash.
Yeah.
They haven't been good since. So he's coming in and saying, look, guys, check it out. If we're going to change the culture, I'm going to ruffle some feathers. Y'all did it your way. It didn't work. I'm bringing my luggage with me. I'm bringing guys with me. If you want to be a part of this new culture shock change, stay. I know what kind. If you stay, I already know what kind of mentality you have. We're not going to have a problem. He said, I want dogs. I'm transferring. Transfer them because I don't want you. I don't want you on my team. And I tell people all the time, I said, I look at sports like life. If you are a coach, which is the CEO of a company, and you have a company and your main goal is profits, which is wins for sports, what would you do if you had people that weren't leading to that excellent leadership line that you want? I fire them. Okay. So you know how coaches fire players? Sit on the bench over there. Yeah. So the concept is he brash? Absolutely. So was Nick Saban. If you listen to how Nick Saban talked in interviews, he was cocky. He was confident, but he had the cachet to do it. Y'all don't like the fact Deion does it because, well, he hasn't won anything yet. Well, guess what that has won? Y'all looking at wins and losses. You remember you talked about that shallow thought? You know what he's won? He's won men. He's turned boys into men. Made them better fathers, better husbands, better brothers, better sisters. They're graduating. They're graduating. Now, not saying Saban didn't do it. Or did he?
He did.
He did, right?
He did. That's what I wanted to touch on.
90% of his people graduated. Dabo did the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think people look at the concept. They look at Deion from the side of as a player, not listening to his words. I remember watching Eric Hosmer as a baseball player, retired. He had Ron Washington and Eric, I can't think of his name, but he's a former baseball player. He used to be the third base coach for the Braves. And he was talking, he said, what's the one thing you learned growing up? He said, well, my mom and my sisters just always get on me. He said, but they used to yell at me all the time. He said, one day I was sensitive, like, why y'all always yelling at me? And he said, my sister said, stop listening to the delivery and listen to what I'm saying.
Right, that's good.
And he said, once I learned that, he said, I understood is, wow, it's not how you saying, it's what you're telling me I should be worried about. Now we talking about sensitivity into the young player. It's, coach doesn't like me, da-da-da-da. No. What did he tell you? Well, you don't want to be critical. Oh, you don't like being criticized. Because for so long, because you're the best 8, 9-year-old, like, oh my God, Jimmy, you're so good.
Right.
Nobody says anything to you. It's like having kids. When your kids are little, you let them get away with things. When they turn 14, 15 years old, now you try to reel them in, it's too late. Mm-hmm. Same thing with a lot of these kids is because I told my brother that I think a lot of it is a lot of parents are younger now. So their kids are almost like de facto their little brother, little sisters of how they are raising them. So they're playing sports in an era now where it's like everybody should play. You should not get an opportunity for little Jimmy to play. Cool. He's 19 years old. So everybody should play. But once that level of competition goes up,
right,
it's like life as far as jobs. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, everybody can't get the promotion at work.
I think that's a good point if you're talking about youth sports, because here's what you hear a lot. So the coach was too hard on my kid. The blanket statement, the coach seems like he just wants to win at all costs. So here's the thing. In youth sports, they're obligated to play everybody,
mm-hmm.
right? So if you already know that they're obligated to play everybody, then allow the coach to be the coach. Allow him to crawl up his rear end every now and then, because youth sports is all about developing these young players.
Absolutely.
And you're not developing them just to win youth sports games. You're developing them to move to the next level.
Right.
Because when they get to high school, somebody's going to crawl up their rear end. So if you don't allow that, or you keep skirting around it, let's go find a coach who's going to pat him on the head and take him for ice cream and call him that night and ask if he's okay. And, then chances are you're doing the kid a disservice, because you're not preparing him to go to the next level. And that's part of it.
And what's crazy with that, too, is it also can happen on the flip side of it, because I had a team, I was coaching 14U, and I told the parents, I said, listen, I don't care if we win a game. They all look at each other like, what? That's not my job. It's not my job to win a 14U summer league tournaments, or we had 40 games. I was like, we go 0 for 40. I don't care. What? You don't care about winning? I don't. My job as a former high school coach is, your son's 14, right? He's going to ninth grade next year. He wants to make his high school team. My job is to make sure when he shows up in ninth grade, he's mentally, physically ready to go. He's a good teammate. He knows what to expect. When that coach takes him on the field, he doesn't have to teach him how to run bases or how to throw the ball in, or mental IQ, because my job is to do that. I don't care about a dub. If a dub comes in with it, great. That's not my job. My job is development. That's what you're paying me for. Right. I don't care if we go 0 for 40. We go 40-0, but your kid doesn't learn anything. What did we really do? Yeah, Jimmy, you won the 14U summer team. Yay, put that on the fridge. Right. Awesome. Who cares? My job is development. And most leaders, that's their job, is to develop, is to conduct, is to make everyone better. And I can slide to the background and be in the shadows like, man, these people are great. Right. Who led you? Oh, where is he? We don't see him. That's because I don't need to be out front. Let me do behind closed doors, and then when we go out and play, then you can do it. It was funny because I never really had to chastise a kid before. So I actually chastised a parent. And my dad, I called my dad like, man, because to me, I'm a parent. So once I allow my kid to go with that coach, I'm trusting his leadership or her leadership, right? I had a kid, I was like, look, we don't throw curveballs, fastball changeups on. So catches calling signs, the kid shakes it off and throws a curveball. Like, okay. He throws back-to-back curveballs. I look at Jason. So he throws another one. Time blew. Go to the mound. I said, what's going on? He was like, well, my dad's telling me to throw curveballs. Oh, is he now? Okay. Time blew. Can I get 5 minutes? Take that, come here. Hey, sir. Hey, Vinny, warm up. You done. What? This is not what we do here. We have a culture. We have expectations. Since you don't follow it, I said, sir, you can take your son with you. No, since you can teach him and coach him better than me, take him with you. So the kid goes, and dad comes back and apologizes. And they were like, what happened, coach? I said, well, you can't have too many cooks in the kitchen, right? You allow me to coach your kid, so allow me to coach your kid. So I had a kid who got caught vaping, right? His dad calls me. It's like, hey, Mr. Hicks, I got somebody to talk to. He said, kid's on the phone crying. They called him vaping at school. He's like, I'm sorry, coach. I said, apologize to me. I said, you know what you just did? Your decision just cost your team one of their best players. So this is what you're going to do. I'm suspending you for 2 weeks. Every day of practice, you're going to come, you're going to show up, you're going to cheer, and you're going to run. And you're going to apologize to your brothers every single day about the decision you made, because you made it about yourself, not about us. And he did that. He ran every day. That boy was in so much shape when he was done. And I called my coach. I'm like, man, did I do the right thing? He was like, Lamont, he's like, being a leader comes with the difficult decisions you have to make sometimes. And he said, if you're doing it right, they may not like you now, but later on they'll understand it. And I learned that as a parent. I used to be mad at my mom. Why you punishing me? You don't like me. And then as I got older, I'm like, okay. That's leadership style. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, like we talked earlier, because of that situation or fear of retaliation from the parents, especially with youth sports, it's like, yeah, Jimmy's 0 for 15 with 15 punch-outs, bro. Why is Jimmy still playing? Right. Well, his mom and dad, da-da-da. If Jimmy was working at a factory and, I think we talked earlier, I showed guy about putting the stuff up, and you got an assembly line, and Jimmy's quality assurance guy is like, yo, Jimmy's killing us. Jimmy's getting fired. Jimmy's getting fired. I say, but with youth sports, man, I think we all losing. I do think kids are soft nowadays, and I think a lot of it, it's It's the microwave generation is what I've heard people call it. It's I want it now. Yeah. Ding, 30 seconds. I want it now. I don't want to work for it. I want to wake up. I want to be the best player. I want the money. I want everything that comes with it. I don't want to have to work for it. That's who does that?
That's a good. We go back to the LeaderSHIFT. Even though you have to evolve with the time. So Deion would be really the, no pun intended, the prime example of,
that's a good point,
of moving with the times, because he is capitalizing on this new world we live in, social media, monetizing everything. Now, for those of you who say it's all about money, look, if the foundation you laid is solid, if the values are solid, right? So we operate a culture. We operate by certain ethics. We operate by values. We have discipline. We have morals. We have standards that we live up to. Success is a byproduct of all of that.
Absolutely.
Right? So you're going to reap, in this day and age, you're going to reap the benefits. I mean, Nick Saban wasn't making chump change from Aflac. Yeah, they all got now Deion's just better at it because he's more marketable.
Yeah.
And he knows how to do that. But if you look at these great leaders, that's what they all have in common. So if you put Deion in a box and you say he's all about the money, he's this, flash, it's all about him, whatever, that means you don't follow him very closely, because every single day, not only is he putting quality content out on social media that's teaching, that's reminding people of these kind of old school values, but his team is in the, whatever they call it, the media room, whatever. Yeah. Every day there's a word of the day. Every day he's teaching. Look, this is what we're going to touch on: discipline. We're going to touch on character. We're going to touch on values. We're going to touch on, and so it is important. If you ask him what's at the top of his list, it's going to be taking these young men and turning them into great men, great leaders, great husbands, great fathers, great citizens. That's at the top of his list, just like Nick Saban, just like Dabo, just like the great coaches that you see. John Wooden, all the way back to John Wooden, one of the greatest leaders of all time.
Absolutely, it just looks different. Yeah, I think it was the biggest thing. It looks different, especially with youth and college sports now. It's because the players have the ability now to really dictate situations. I think, my personal opinion, that's why Saban stepped away, because it's no longer not threats, but now I can't control the narrative anymore. Like in the past, back when these kids were coming up, it was like, all right, let me go follow Saban, play 3 years, go to the NFL, get paid, I'm good. Now it's because of social media and NILs, I still can go to Alabama, but if I'm a high school superstar coming out, I can get a Coke deal. I can come in as a freshman already making $2.2 million a year. So now the problem comes where I like seeing the players that can mesh the two, which is, yes, I can capitalize on my name, image, and likeness, but I still have that old school, I want the longevity of it. I still want the process. I want to be coached hard. I want to be, in the media room. I want to look at film. I want it all. And that's what Saban did while all those years he was here. And that's what Deion is doing now. It's like, fellas, some of the greatest leaders, man, I believe they've done it. So now their voice holds even more weight to it. Because as athletes, we know it's like sometimes your best player, it's always, hopefully your best player is also your best leader. Yeah. Hopefully.
Right.
But sometimes it doesn't always be that way. And then you get some guys like us that was like, that dude is terrible. I don't listen to him. Like, that dude is awful. Like, I can't listen to what he says. Like, really? He's our leader? He's terrible. But that's where it comes back to that. Sometimes positions dictate leadership roles.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think leadership is such a, you could break it down for like eons, man, of just how people lead, reasons behind they leading, what their leadership style is. Why do you lead like that? And I think a lot of people just, especially with college, because we both love college football, there's so many great leaders that are on the sideline. And so even some of the players, like Peyton been a leader since he stepped into Tennessee. And I mean, actually I was watching Man, we're talking earlier about football. I was watching this morning. They had the top 10 coaches quarterback duo. And if you think about NFL football, most of the Hall of Fame quarterbacks have Hall of Fame coaches. Right. Why is that? And they were talking about how Tony Dungy took Peyton with his laid back, hands off of humility type leadership style. Mm-hmm. Peyton went through the roof. Right? Parcells was just the opposite. Right. He was that in Phil Simms' face. Phil Simms is not a Hall of Famer, but they had success. Right. Then you had Jimmy and Troy. Jimmy was that Terry Bradshaw and Chuck Noll. Chuck Noll was kind of like that. Okay. Well, Bill Walsh in Montana. Bill Walsh was more that cerebral type. So you see, that's why I love sports, man, because you see the different types of leadership styles and the success that comes with it, man.
And sometimes I feel bad. I mean, look,
why?
It's because we can sit and say sports is life.
Right.
Right. It has been for us our whole lives. Mm-hmm. But sports mirrors life better than anything that you could possibly imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, from trials and fall down, get back up, the adversity, everything.
Yeah.
So that's typically when you see people that have played sports their entire lives. Now, they not all the time, but most of the time there's a common thread.
Yeah.
You know, this above average discipline, the ability to accept constructive criticism more
easily
without
ready to punch them in the face,
without losing their mind. Yeah. You know, but yeah, so many lessons. So let's see if we can because what we like to do is take what we discuss here, and it's like, you know, because a lot of people will be saying, okay, man, Chris lost his mind. He's then gone talking about sports all night long. No, it all applies, right? It all applies to leadership. It all applies to life and discipline and, you know, willpower and everything that we discuss in the gym. It's the same principles, being a parent, you know, being an employee, being a business owner, it doesn't matter. It's being able to take these principles that we're laying out and apply them. And, you know.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you think everybody can be led the same?
No. But that takes us back to a college football team. You got 100 guys.
Yeah.
You know, the coach ain't going to change. I'm the coach. We're doing things a certain way. Now, you're going to be coached this way, led this way, or just, you know, get off the train.
Yeah.
You know, but you're right. You have to, being an effective leader, and that's one of the things we teach all the time. You have to know your people. Mm-hmm. You know, because even as a college football coach, I guarantee you there are different conversations. Deion, Nick Saban, Dabo, they're going to know their players so well. They're going to know what to say when they pull that player out, pull them off to the side. Come on, let's go have a conversation.
Yeah.
Conversation is going to look different. It's going to sound different based on who he's talking to.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes a really, really good leader.
Absolutely. Because I remember, like I said, being around the military, you know, because of the job I have and just my son's mom and just being around those type of people, man, it's I think people sometimes look at leadership from the aspect of, you know, X's and O's or profit or whatever. But think about some of those leaders. The decisions they make is life and death.
Right.
It's like life and death. So now their leadership styles is truly different because you're really talking about everybody pulling the one rope the one way and, you know, discipline and knowledge and understanding it. So I think, you know, having people like you that you can talk to about, you know, leadership. And even I know companies go to consultants like, hey, we want to reorganize our leadership structure and bring this in and that in, you know, how would that look? What's the reaction going to be from the people? And of course, whenever leadership changes, every time it's a different type of leader, there's always that window of like rockiness, like, I don't like them. Why they lead like that? And then you got some people like, oh my God, this is awesome, because the person they didn't like was there before. And I was like, yay. And then it's like, but over time you understand, okay, what's the goal?
Yeah.
What's the goal? The goal is for everybody to be on the same page, whether it's profits or just being a better person. You kind of got to understand, like, hey, everybody's going to lead differently and everybody can't be led the same.
Yeah. And I think too is understanding as an effective leader, they're the ones that have they have the vision, right? So the old saying goes, without vision, the people perish.
Yes, I've heard
right?
that before.
So that's actually a Bible verse, actually.
Okay.
So that proves itself true every time. So the leader says, look, here's the vision, here's the mission. I can't adjust. I'm not going to change what I do because of you. Your job is to follow. You're part of the team. Y'all have your each individual gifts that you bring to the team. We recognize that, or you wouldn't be here. But here's the mission, here's the vision, and it never changes. What you have to do is when it's time for correction, when it's time to fix some things, discipline, that's where you have to shift based on who you're dealing with.
Absolutely agree with that.
But from a college football coach or a professional sports coach, no, the mission is clear, and this is how I do things. I'm not changing because Mama don't like it if you get yelled at, or and I know Mama's gonna try to email me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've gotten.
Or email the president of the college, or I don't like the way my baby's being treated.
It's funny, man, because since we've been talking about leadership, it's crazy how even great leaders can see themselves like, you know what, maybe I didn't handle that the greatest.
Sure.
If that comes up again, I'm gonna try this, and this.
Yeah.
Like you have to always evolve.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's that shift.
That's that shift. And I remember I was in a situation where we had a kid. I know sports, but we had a kid, and great kid. His teammates loved him. He loved being on the team. Great defensive second baseman. Couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat under a shower with water in his hand. Just he couldn't, but he knew his role. So after the game, and we always gave the parents like, look, I know you're going to email me. We always say 48 hours. So we're walking off the field, and the dad walks up, and he's yelling at my head coach, like, da-da-da-da-da. He's like, Coach, I understand. I know Dad, da-da-da. He was like, Coach Hicks, what you got to say? I said, let me see the scorebook. I said, Dad, come here for a second. I said, you own your business? He was like, yeah. I said, your business is out to provide a service and make a profit, right? He said, yeah. I said, so what if you had 4 or 5 people that you work with that wasn't following suit and helping you do that? What would you do? He's like, I fire them. Or you move them to a different department, right? Okay, so this is our company. These are our employees. And one employee isn't pulling his weight. We moved him to a different department. But let me show you, though. Your son has 14 at-bats in the last 4 games. He's 0 for 14 with 11 punch-outs. So if he was your employee and he was your QC guy and everything he was QCing was going out into the public and you're getting callbacks and you got to call recalls, who's getting fired? The QC guy is. Yeah. He had nothing to say. Yeah. He just looked at me and walked away. Mm-hmm. I said, bro, like, end of the day, this is what being a leader is about, and this is what understanding where you fall into the team. Mm-hmm. And when I was talking to Coach started laughing. He's like, man, you're crazy. I was like, I'm not. This is how I was coached. I'm not going to change how I was coached moving forward because we have people with feelings. I'm not going to disrespect you. That's it. I'm not going to morally make you feel smaller than anything, but we're going to have a true conversation. You guys are 18, 17, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Some countries, you're men married already. I'm going to treat you like a man because you want to play college baseball. You're going to leave high school, go to college. You're going to go into the workforce. You're going to have a boss you don't like. You're going to have coworkers you don't like. You may be a boss and have to fire someone. Can you have that conversation with them? And I think that's the biggest problem when I'm dealing with service members. So I'm a military contractor. I work for the Department of Labor. So we make sure that service members of all branches transition out successfully into the real world, how to write resumes, how to interview. The biggest thing we talk about is they bring so many soft skills to the table, and leadership is one of them. And they understand a part of the team. So I tell people all the time, I said the biggest thing I think people have lost, especially with youth kids, and my son, I love him, but it's social media. It's texting 50,000 times. It's people can't sit in front of somebody right now and be like, hey, Chris, I don't like the way you did that curl yesterday. Can we talk about that? Nobody can sit people in front of each other anymore and have that conversation. It all has to be, well, you tell them. Hold on. Right. You're the leader. You tell them. Like, that's your job. No, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. It's like, bro, it's not about feelings. It's about you can give somebody constructive criticism or tell somebody how you feel in a manly or female in an adult way. Yeah. Now, once I tell you, you take it how you take it. Now, you either can grow from it or you fall behind. And then you got to cut the fat, as they say. You know, and that's one thing I've learned over the years, just being around many different people, leaders, non-leaders, is just you see that. And I see that a lot now, especially with youth sports. I think that's the problem. Is people are just, I don't want to hurt their feelings. You're not. If you're not being honest with them. So now when they do have minimal success, they go out in the real world. The first time they don't get that promotion or something happens, they're mad. What you mad for? Well, I can't believe they did that. Well, did you look at why that person got the promotion?
See if you agree with this.
Uh-oh. Are we allowed to disagree?
I'm not sure there's much we disagree on, but so we live in this world now where the louder I yell, so I'm offended. This offends me. I'm getting loud. I'm pitching a fit. I'm doing these things. What we should have seen by now is that does you no good.
No,
there's no good that comes from that. You achieve no results.
None.
You can march down the street. You can hold up signs. You can yell. You can burn stuff to the ground. And at the end of the day, you look back on it and go, there was nothing was achieved.
None.
So we're talking about, and we use the term old school. We're talking about these old school values, old school leadership styles. They're tried and true, and no matter how much you try to buck them, they're still going to beat you every time.
They work.
It's still going to play them. It's going to play itself out where if you can handle constructive criticism, you're going to be more successful. If you utilize the tools that you have available to you, which, going back to Deion, hey, live in 2024. It's time to make bank. I don't care. I'm not going to apologize for it because that's the world we live in. But I'm going to do that by following old school values.
Yeah.
I'm using old school stuff to capitalize in this new world.
Absolutely.
That's a skill. I mean, that's a skill he's mastered.
Yep.
So leaders don't lead with their feelings. So you're better served if you don't follow with your feelings.
Wow. Was
that good?
That was good, bro. That's okay.
Quote that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I marked that down. But no, I once again, I want to disagree with something with you, just to because it's a good podcast. I just want to, but I agree. I agree, and I think that's the one thing that my mother taught me and my brother was that, because I remember there's times she used to chastise us, punish us, and I'd be mad. She's like, "Hey, you boys hungry? Why aren't you still mad at me? Like, you should hold a grudge." She's like, "Baby, I'm your mom. I'm supposed to make sure you do the right thing. But you hungry? Yes, man, we can eat." And she goes and fix a big meal. But as I got older, I said, "Why?" She's like, "You got to understand, baby." She's like, "My job as your mother and leader is to guide you. And I can't do that effectively if everything I do, decisions I make, is based off emotion." Awesome. So I learned to be emotionally mature. Like, I've been in situations where I've had arguments with people, or people, want to stand in front of you and call you all kind of names. And they were like, "Man, you so laid back, da-da-da." I said, "Bro, what they're saying makes no sense.
Right.
So why am I going to be upset about something that makes no sense? It does nothing for me. It doesn't make me a better person. It doesn't make me a better leader. It doesn't put monetary money in my pocket. So why am I going to get emotionally involved, invested in this conversation when it does nothing for me?" It does nothing for me or the people I'm trying to lead.
Right.
And what you said was perfect. It's leaders don't lead with emotions. And if you are a good person on the team or a good follower, you're not going to follow with emotion. Right. You're going to follow because you like that leader is guiding us to the end of the mission, whether it may be, no matter if you're business, sports, life in self, or self-preservation or self-improvement, doesn't matter. But if you understand that, and I think what's happening with today and age is I think people have missed that boat completely. Yes, everything is because of social media, and people are putting their feelings out there on social media. And I don't think it's even for, like, when we were growing up, it's like you ask questions. Remember, you ask your parents, "Why?" "Because I said so." "Because I said so." You like. Right. But when I got older, it was now I'm getting the understanding. This is why I didn't let you go. This is why I did this. This is why you had a curfew. Now I get it. So now when I do ask for something, I understand why. And I think a lot of times now it's, why is Chris asking me this question? Is it he really wants to know, or he's fishing for something? Like people now with social media is, my feelings, everything is, I'm on my feelings. You want the truth, or you want to be the victim? You want everybody like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Da, da, da. Like, what are you searching for?
Well, we've been desensitized, right? And I think we brought this up maybe in one of the other podcasts, but we talked about we get fed these terms, and we hear them the first time, and the first time we hear it, we go, what is that? But then we hear it again and again, and they keep force feeding it until it becomes second nature. It becomes a normal part of the conversation. There's two words. We used to hear the word equality, right? Equality made sense. Equality means everybody gets a shot, right? Everybody gets the same shot. Now, they shifted that to equity. Two different meanings.
Absolutely.
Equity says everybody deserves the same outcome. Whoa. But now we're using it. Equality has gone away. Equity has replaced it, and most people don't even understand what that means.
I have no idea.
Right. But the amazing thing is people believe we all deserve the same outcome. Huh? Since when do we deserve the same outcome? Based on what?
Absolutely. It's funny. It's funny you say that, because I think about times I've gone to a few. I know my buddies and I were in Charleston playing ball, and we went to a sports bar, and we sitting there having a good time, having some drinks, and we're tipping, and I asked the bartender, I said, "Hey, question for you. What kind of tip jar is this?" She's like, "Why'd you ask?" I said, "Because some places make you split tips. Do you guys do that?" She was like, "Yeah, we do." I said, "Okay, well, here." And the guy next to him was like, well, guy was sitting there, man, why'd you ask that question? I said, because now we talking equity. Is why should I put tips in a jar for someone who didn't do the same job that she did? Like, don't get me wrong. I'm all for people having the same opportunities for certain things. But let's be honest, Chris. Everybody ain't treated the same. Everybody doesn't get coached the same. It ain't the same out there for everybody. And why should I give you a reward for something you didn't even do?
Right.
And that's equity.
Right.
Is everybody should get the same outcome. Right. So you got 6 people you got 5 that grind and build their companies, and then the 6th person kind of like, hey, I should get the same outcome. I should get some $1 million too. But what did you do? Well, I invested. Invested what? Well, I was there for a day. Oh, so you expect the same piece of the pie. Right. Nah, it don't work like that. Yeah. But people, like you said, people have gotten, I don't call it tricked, but my dad always say, every person should go out and find out what actually was going on. That's why I don't watch the news. If it ain't ESPN, News, right. or Sports Channel, I don't, because you get that, man. Yeah. And it's crazy that you say that. I never thought about it like that, equality to equity. And people just hear the EQ and like, oh yeah, everybody's the same. And then it's like, if you think about equity in a house or building, it's like, oh, everybody should get the same outcome. Like, well, if you don't put anything in it, why should you get the same outcome as everybody else? It don't work like that.
Right.
But what you gonna do?
I know.
What you gonna do?
Well, I have a feeling we need to do this again.
Hey man, listen, this is when you asked me on a couple of days ago, I was like, bro, this is awesome. Because like I said, I've watched.
We could go deeper. Well,
oh, bro, we'd be here all day, man. Because I watched a couple of your other podcasts with you and Claudia, man. I'm like, yeah, that dude knows what he's talking about, too. And we've had these conversations in the gym, too. And it's like when you said it earlier, when you start having conversations with people out of whether it's, I like them sneakers, man. I like them glasses. And then you start having constant conversations, which we've had. Yeah. We've never sat down this long and talked, but we've always had conversations. It's always that, I never thought about it like that, Chris. Or, you know what, that's a good point. And I think if people did that more without the emotional aspect in it, we would be I think it would be different out there. And that's what I try to teach my 19-year-old. It's like, look, he knows it. It's like, look, bro, just criticism is criticism. People are criticizing you. Some do it out of just spite, but those that you really care about are doing it because they see something that you can't see. It's like, hey, man, you ever thought about doing this? I'm like, you know what? Never thought about that. That's a good point. I'm gonna have to try to incorporate that into what I do on a daily basis, man. But nah, man, it's been It's been awesome, bro. Sitting talking to you, dude. Absolutely, man.
I think that every time we do this, it reminds me, just like you just said, we don't have conversations much anymore. People don't, we text and we instant message and we do these different things, but just sitting down having meaningful conversations and going deeper and deeper, because you see what happens, the longer you go, the deeper you get. And you end up, whoa, man, we could go into a whole nother episode and talk about that. But the other thing about this, and this is really important, I thought a lot about this week. When people stand out, and look, you can take this, me blowing smoke up your butt if you want. When there are people who walk into a room and the room gets brighter, people smile when they see you coming, I believe those people deserve to be celebrated.
Thank you, brother.
I think we deserve to have conversations. I think those people deserve to have more people know who they are, because that's how we end up connecting a lot more people community-wise. Because now when people see this, they're going to see you differently than they saw you. They already knew, yeah, man, he's just a great guy, and he's always smiling. He's always friendly to everybody. But now it's like, it goes deeper.
Who taught me? Who taught me that, man? My 2 Mays ago, my grandmother passed away. She was 94, right? So she grew up in Mobile, Alabama, back in the day. So talking to her, you talk about 12 kids. God knows how many cousins I've had. Yeah. And even my mother, she was like, my mom is big into spiritual and the Bible and that kind of thing. So every time I talk to her, I call her spiritual, right? Right. And she's always giving those nuggets. Ever since my brother and I was kids. And one thing she told me one day, because she's a teacher for years, she's a principal now. She always says, she's like, you need to teach. I'm like, no, I'm not trying to be no teacher, man. But I talked to her a couple of days ago, and she was like, look, you're a teacher. I'm like, no, I'm not. She was like, think about it. Not in the sense of in a classroom, but a sense of every time you're around people, you're always supposed to bless them with something. Even if it's how you doing. I literally care how you doing. I asked you. Not just hey, how you doing? And then walk away. Yeah. I truly want to know how you're doing, because even if it's one person I can bless today, I'm going to receive blessings in myself. And when I go, people are like, you always happy? I'm like, bro, what's not to be happy about, bro? Like, I'm blessed. I woke up this morning. Like, everything else is icing on the cake. Right. And true, it's like, I like people. That's why I do the job I do. I like seeing people be happy and smile. I know that's in the worlds of unicorns and leprechauns, but if I can just have a room just like laughing and joking and having conversations like we are having, you could walk out and then you can have a conversation with somebody, and you can have a conversation with somebody. Next thing you know, the whole thought process about something we talked about has completely changed. You're like, man, who told me that? Don't matter who told you. The fact that you get it now and you're providing that, pay it forward, so to speak. So, but no, I appreciate it, brother. I try to be like that every single day, even though my Cowboys ain't doing too good. Shout out to Manny. He's a Giants guy, So we'll talk to him off the camera, man. But nah, thanks for having me, man. It's been an awesome time, bro. Absolutely. Yeah, and I always try to talk to people smarter than me that know more things too. So that kind of always helps. That always helps, because you get different concepts and thoughts, and you're like, ooh, I'm about to, let's see, copyrights that. I'm about to steal that. And matter of fact, I'm briefing next week in Charleston, so I'm about to use that leaders lead without emotion. I'm gonna use that. So
I learned at least 4 or 5 things from you today. So
I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it. I try to, man. But thanks for having me, man. It's been awesome, bro.
Guys, as always, thanks for watching. I'm excited about this one. A little different.
Yeah, a little bit.
But I like it. Yeah, this is cool. But as always, give us a subscribe, like, smash the like button, do whatever you got to do. But help us share this thing, because I think we're gonna keep getting better, and we're really excited about where we're going in the future. So everybody have a great week. We'll see you soon.